After some months of school lockdown and ASU strike, Nigerian government has finally ordered for the reopening of schools. And it's interesting to note that ASU strike has also been called off from this prolonged strike. This is a good news for our parents and children. Despite the order by the government to reopen schools, there are also calls for concern for the health, safety of our children and teachers. These are what we shall be looking at in the course of our discussion. Good day and welcome to Christians in Politics, reaching you from the Advent Cable Network Nigeria Television, ACNNTV. I am Smart Simon, and today we shall be discussing the topic School Resumption and Second Wave of COVID-19. We have in the studio to discuss with us Mr. Kingsley Obinna Eyinya. He is an educationist and a business consultant. You're welcome, sir.
You're welcome, too.
Also, with us is Mr. Obinna Uduche, a political analyst. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
We shall, before we will continue our discussion, or start our discussion, we shall observe a short break, and when we return, we will continue.
The focus should not be only on churches or on schools and students. It should be everywhere. You can see what is happening now. For almost a year, our children have not been in school, which is not pleasant at all. We should be thinking fast on how academics can continue to run. In developed world, these things have not stopped. We have children outside the country running their degree and master programs, yet they are the schools are running because they have developed so much that they do internet school work, which we have not developed at all in our country. So we call on the federal government to see into the academic system of our country. Our children, they are losing so much. For a child to stay at home for 1 year, I don't think it's good enough, whether for the child or for the parents. If schools must resume, then the federal government, the state government, and all those who own private universities should try as much as possible to put in place all that have been said concerning the protocols as it relates to COVID-19.
Everyone knows that what we are doing in our education system as regards COVID-19 is destroying our future generation. We need to do something. And if we wait for them to be ready or prepared, it means we are destroying entire generation. So I think the right thing is to start school, and those in authority or responsible should wake up to do the right thing.
Very sincerely, we are not serious about many things in our country. I can answer very clearly and boldly that our government is not prepared for the full reopening of schools because there are so many persons who are not sincere in the system. It is possible for us to open schools if we are prepared. But I tell you, many persons are not interested in the welfare, the academic welfare of our children. Rather, they are looking at personal gains. That is where we have always had problems. We are not ready to make sacrifices. If the government will be ready to spend the budgeted money actually on what it is meant for in terms of this fighting this disease, then I'll be able to tell you that we are ready. There are so many things that don't work in our academic system, in our institutions. You talk, how many institutions can boast of running water? How many of our institutions can boast of lights? Whether federal or state, or even private. So if we say we are ready, we are joking. We are not ready at all. If there is an explosion, we cannot handle it. It's one of the reasons why I'm saying that we are not ready at all.
My advice is that everybody should know that COVID-19 is real and this life has no duplicate. Parents, students, teachers should do everything to safeguard our lives. Safeguard your own life and safeguard the life of others around you by observing all the necessary protocol as we pray to God, who have been doing great miracle as regards this COVID-19.
It's a welcome development that the schools are about to open. And my own take, or my own advice to the government concerning this is that it should not just be in words, but that they should all that which is within their powers to ensure that all the protective steps, like the buckets, the sanitizers, and things like that are put in the correct places so that these children will see and be able to access, and ensure that the schools do what they ought to do. And therefore, we parents, it is our own duty to make sure as our children are going back to school, give them enough reusable face mask, the sanitizers, and vitamin C and all that is necessary. So that, and of course, drum it in their ears, please. Make sure you do this. And of course, we must start with enforcing it from home so that they see us doing it. And by the time they get to school, it's now their duty to do that, which they saw their parents do, and they heard their parents tell them to do.
Thank you for staying tuned. In case you're just joining, this is the Christians in Politics program, and I still have in the studio Mr. Kingsley Obinna Enya and Mr. Jonathan Oduche. You're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Now, let me start with Mr. Obinna. What is your take on the second wave of COVID-19?
It's a normal thing when there's any outbreak or any epidemic. It used to come first, and when it comes, it will ravage the system, and people will rush to take precautions because of the way they felt something new coming into the system, something changing the life, trying to change the life of people, killing people and all whatnot. So they will rush, try to adapt, so that there will be a kind of cautions to curtail the menace of the outbreak. So when such happens, you see that after some time, the outbreak may seem to be going down. The record of infection and the deaths will seem to go down. And when it goes down, you know, as human beings, we would like to be free.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be confined. So everybody will just come out by force from their shells and start living their lives. And before you know it, the second wave is always more dangerous and deadly. The record so far is that second wave kills more than 3 times of what happened in the first wave.
Yeah.
So that is what we are seeing now. This is the second wave. When the first time it came, government was swift. There was a lockdown. People were confined in their homes. Schools were closed. A lot of businesses were closed. Markets, churches, mosques, everybody was confined in their homes. So they were able to battle, and they were able to curtail it, and the rate of spread, the rate of devastation
Yeah.
went down drastically.
Yeah.
So after they have seen that devastation has gone down drastically, the lockdowns were lifted, markets open, churches open, mosques open, businesses open, people started traveling. So when people started traveling and all these things started happening, we started living our lives. We started going to parties. And here comes the second wave. And the second wave is so spontaneous. Because if you see the number of infections we are having every day in Nigeria, you cannot compare it to the first wave. So you can see that the way it's going, if time is not taken, if care is not taken, it's going to be more deadly and dangerous to the nation.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Obina. Now, let me come to Mr. Kingsley. What is your take on the second wave?
Well, on the second wave, I just feel that is a reminder. You know, we Nigerians, sorry, let me say, some of we Nigerians have this docile attitude, especially when something comes, we attack it immediately, and after a while, you see both the tempo, everything will go down. So I think the second wave is reminding us that I am still available. And those things, those steps, urgent steps that we need to take it seriously. That is one of the things I feel that the second wave is doing. And Nigerians, you and I know that as Nigerians, sometimes some people feel less concerned. Even as I speak to you now, I'm telling you that some people still don't believe that this sickness, so-called sickness, is real. You can go as far as saying some people will say it's COVID malaria. Some we call it different kind of baptismal name. Yeah. But it still boils down that this thing is real. We have tried a little bit in terms of awareness. I would say a lot of things have come into play. Some people have lost completely confidence in our leaders. Yeah. Because we can see a lot of projects that have been given to us that even since we got our independence, we're still hearing the same news. So, you see, it has made people to be less concerned about whatever thing government is projecting about this particular second wave. So, you can see that attitude too is also there. So, I also want to use this. It's going to be a kind of wake-up call for our government, our leaders. Let's not have leaders that will just follow my voice, don't follow my attitude. Let it be coincides. Follow my voice, follow my attitude. You are telling people to take this precaution. You as a government, how many of them? I see a lot of government officials that are not even maintaining the simplest COVID protocols. Then what are we saying? I see a lot of schools that are not even maintaining, the government schools to be precise. I took a survey around my neighborhood to look at the government schools. Government is the one shouting. So I believe that they are the one to take the proactive measure to even fix some of all these government schools. Because of course, we all know in this country that some of them have their children abroad studying, and they may not really care about the local ones, forgetting to know that this local one will still come to mix up in the society. Sometimes I would say that this COVID is a blessing in disguise, because you can no longer fly, because where you're flying to is even more dangerous than where you are. And it's a wake-up call for the health sector. It's a wake-up call for our leaders. It's a wake-up call for we Nigerians. The way we need to do our attitude to life, especially when it comes to hygiene. Because this is I target a clean sickness. Because when it has to do with washing of your hands, when it has to do with taking care of your environment, we're talking about a simple hygiene, for crying out loud.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Kingsley, you are the educationist here, so I want to remain with you. Now, looking at the increase in cases of COVID-19, what can you say about school resumption? Is it right that school should resume?
Yes. If you should ask me my opinion, I will tell you yes. Why do I say so? Let's not where we are trying to prevent and cause more problem for ourselves. I think it's just because for a very long time, the necessary things that the government need to do in terms of the educational sector, you and I know that our educational sector is nothing to write home about. That is why we are afraid. Now, you shouldn't be talking about having running water in a school in a time like this. It's supposed to be there. You shouldn't be talking about the simple hygiene. It's supposed to be there. You shouldn't be talking about sick bay. It's supposed to be there. Now, being privileged to work in this sector for years, if you go down, we have a wonderful guideline in setting up a school. But to tell you, it may be very, very surprising to you that all these wonderful, sweet policies, educational policies in setting up a school, if you go to some schools, you'll be seeing almost less than nothing. And we still have agencies, I don't know what the quality assurance are doing, that's supposed to make sure that before you set up a school, that this standard have to be met. Otherwise, we shouldn't be struggling at this particular point in time. Do you get? Now, looking at the psychological aspect of it, emotional aspect of it, my daughter resumed school today and she was very happy. You can see the excitement on the side of these children. To tell you that aside from the sickness we are trying to see how we can prevent, the psychological, emotional depression on these students or pupils is also there. I'm not even talking about the aspect of the long, prolonged ASU strike. That one is a bombshell that is just waiting to explode if urgent and proactive actions are not taken. So I will tell you that, well, it's a welcome development. For how long are we going to continue to be in the comfort of our zones? No. The answer is capital no. We have to take the bull by the horn. There is no way you solve. If you want to fight a war, you have to go to the war front. You will not sit down in your comfort zone to be fighting a war. I believe this COVID is a war. It's a health war. So let's go and face it. In the course of fighting war, some souls will survive, some will die. We use this opportunity to also, a kind of have this thing for most of our brothers that have lost their life at the cause of this sickness. We are not even talking about the health workers who have lost their lives, and even the family that have lost their dear ones who are working in this front line. So we have a lot of things to contend with. So for me, it's a wake-up call. Let's face it. Let's face it. And it's even easier to control children than adults. I remember my daughter.
You think so?
Yes. My daughter keeps, sometimes when I come back from my daily activities, before I step into the house, my daughter will just shout from the inside room there that, Daddy, please wash your hands, take care of yourself before you come inside the room. So you see that consciousness is already there with them. I'm telling you the fact. If you have taken time to visit malls, visit markets, you see that we adults are even the problem, not even the children.
All right. Thank you so much. Now, let me come to you. For me, I believe that it's better that our children are alive than to be excited and resume school and die in the course. Yeah. It's better that we extend it just for, say, for some months to ensure that it's safe for them than to rush them into this danger. So what is your take on this?
In this country, we don't have a system. It's only in a country where you have systems that works, institutions that works, that you can say they can start school. For this country, there's no system. There's no institution that works. So to me, the students should be at home. Nothing has been done. Is just exposing them more. And the negative aspect, when the children contact COVID-19, they have strong immunity. They may not die. But it's very easy for the parents and for the people around them that are grown up to get it and die. It will be the fastest means of spreading the disease in this country. So to me, they need to be at home. Let government do what they want to, what they're supposed to do. We get things right when it is very stringent. When the time is short, they should close down the schools. Allow our children to be at home. Let them fumigate the schools. Most of the schools that are opening now, they are not fumigated. Let them provide the necessary equipment that is needed in the school for the students to cope. If you go to most of these schools that have boarding house, you just enter their boarding facilities. Some of them don't even have fan. Some of them don't have good ventilations. And students are going in there to stay again for another 3 to 4 months. What are we talking about? The education system is already bad. That they are at home now will not make it to improve unless government decide to improve on it. Because the COVID-19 issue we are talking about now, they said that students will go and do test before they come back to school, so that they will make sure that that child is free from COVID-19.
Yeah.
What stops the government to make it available that as you are entering the school, there will be a facility where you will test? So that
Government does not have the capacity.
That's why I'm saying
for
that
massive testing.
That's why I'm telling you now that we are not ready. And another thing, COVID-19 started about 2 years ago. Now it started 2019. We are now in 2021. And we as a country, we cannot boast of developing our testing facility. It's wrong. This is a country where you have got everything. Those people inventing it all over the world, most of them are Nigerians. What stops the government from setting up a special team that will research and develop what we need to use to cope in Nigeria? I remember when Ebola came. Ebola was so devastating. There was no solution for Ebola. And the Western world decided to allow Africans to die. What happened in Nigeria? When Ebola came to Nigeria, it was fought to a standstill by our medical experts. They were able to contain Ebola. And Ebola became a thing of the past. Now, what happened to COVID-19? COVID-19 is something that is not new. Let us all know that. It's not a new disease. It's not a new virus. COVID-19 has been in existence. And we in Africans, we have been suffering from COVID-19. It has been, yes, it has been with us. Because if you study the symptoms of COVID-19, we have been having it. We have been living with it. And we have traditional ways of taking care of it. And we continue our businesses. But now it has gotten a name. It has gotten a very big media hype. And what kills people more now is when you are told that you have COVID-19. That is what kills people more now. The psychology of COVID-19. That is what kills us more. So, we don't need to open the schools because we know that we are backward in our educational system. We are backward already. You can take a cue from the last WAEC that just came out. They didn't study, but they pushed them to go and take WAEC. And when they enter university, you will see that we are coming out, we are having half-baked graduates. So to me, government should do the needful first. They should go to the schools, whether private. This one is not private or public. This one is a pandemic. It's a responsibility of government to take care of the citizens. All the children, all of us are citizens of Nigeria. So there should be no boundary. What they need to do now is to go back to the schools, set up a special task force that will take care of the whole schools, make sure that all the protocols are being observed, make sure that the facilities are available, so that when you ask our children to go back, do you know that in some schools there are places that are up to 100 in a class? Yeah. In some schools, they're up to 100 in a classroom. How do you think that any magic that school will do, how can they protect students from COVID-19? So there's a lot of things to be done first before we open schools. And I thank God that some states are beginning to understand. Like Edo State, they shifted their own to February. Anambra State shifted their own to February. So that they will be able to look into the system and know what to do exactly. Not because God gave us good environment that resists COVID-19. We will not look down on it.
All right, thank you so much. Now, Mr. Kingsley, from the Nation newspaper on Friday, 15th January 2020, it was reported that 27 states forced the federal government to reopen schools. Do you think this was a good decision?
Well, if you should ask me, I would say, well, it is good.
Okay.
Yes.
What are your reasons?
My reasons are, like I said earlier, that you can't go to war sitting down in your house. We all know that the responsibility is for government. We all know. But we should also remember that we too are also part and parcel of the government. You see, while the government is trying to recover from the mistake of the past, we too, we should not also sit down and fold our arms and be looking at the government. Okay, yes, it's your responsibility. So we should also be proactive as well. We should also respond. What do we do if the help or the needed protection is not coming from the government? What do I stand to do as a citizen who is also part of that system? I should also be thinking inward from my own hood. Now, in my own little family, we've developed this habit that once you step out, you come back, you wash your hands. It's becoming a routine. At least to that simple level, it is something that is also helping since it's part of the protocol. Just like my brother rightly said that we have been living with COVID-19 for a very long time, because if you look at the symptoms, it's very, very synonymous to that of the malaria. Like, you know, I mentioned it earlier that there's some people call it COVID malaria. I don't know where they are borrowing that from. But at the same time, we still have to stand by to say that, yes, the government, they have looked at it very, very critically. I believe so. And I don't want to believe that all of them who make up the cabinet of the government are not also very, very realistic, and not also sensitive to the matter on ground. They know that they might have considered the sensitivities of all these things before they now said, okay, we have to tell federal government to reopen schools. So in doing that, I don't think it's a bad thing. What we need to do is to face it. Government should be proactive. They should continue to provide the necessary facilities. They should also continue to supervise all these schools. Like I said earlier, that had it been we are doing what we need to do earlier, we shouldn't be afraid of this. What has happened to our health sector? So far, so good. Like my brother mentioned here, this thing started in 2019. We were sitting down, that is happening over there. Now it's in our domain. If it is a very good, sensible government, they could have known that sometimes, somehow, being that we interact in form of business, being that we interact in form of education, those who study abroad, that this thing will somehow come to this country. At that particular point in time, that could have been a very good time for us to begin to take cogent step to begin to fix ourselves to attack this pandemic that some of us foresee it coming, but to them, out there in the government, they were not thinking that maybe they felt that we are having a cloud that it could not penetrate to come. But here we are today. So I said, we have started. Let's see what is going to happen. Just like I said earlier, there must be a way out of this. There must be a way out. Government have done their bit. We, the school too, also begin to do their bit. And I want to still believe that same God that have shaded us up to this moment. It is not by our making, to be very honest with you. We continue to shade us, and we continue to give us the best way and the best approach to handle this. And before I continue, I also want to say that I think it's also a wake-up call that our government should begin to make the right appointment with the right people. Somebody who is a commissioner of health should be a person that is really deep-rooted in that sector. You don't need to bring, based on political sentiment or whatever, or trying to do political favoritism, you bring your friend who is a barrister to come and head the health sector. What are you going to be getting there? So these are some part of the laxities, even from the part of the government, that is also causing. Now, sorry to say, apology if needed, the person that is expected to be the task force chairman of this COVID-19 should be a health personnel. What is the secretary to the state government doing there? He can be part of the committee, but the person that is chaired should be someone that is from the health sector.
Anybody can be a chairman now to chairman groups?
No, because the chairman has powers. He has powers. He has powers to take some decisions. There's some decision doesn't need to consult anybody before he takes it.
Right.
That is why I'm saying that a head personnel is supposed to be the person chairing this particular.
They have a doctor who is a coordinator. But just hold it there.
Okay.
We will go on a short break, and when we return, I will pick Mr. Obina up on that.
It's okay.
We need assistance.
Oh my God! Upon everywhere.
How can you say Christians should stay away from politics?
Leveling buildings, setting cars on fire, and shattering the glass in windows more than a mile away. Those homes, businesses were destroyed.
What is happening to this country? The Bible says the government of this world will be upon his shoulder. Jesus must rule and reign. If we are going to have peace, if we are going to have equity, justice, Jesus must be enthroned.
The first church to evacuate the dead and wounded from the scene. Another loud explosion was also reported in the central Nigerian town of Jos. The attack was hit during Christmas Mass on the outskirts of the capital, Abuja. A witness counted at least 19 dead there.
Christians must participate in politics. How do you tell me not to show interest about how my life will be wrong?
Your job is to represent another king and another kingdom.
So da sun je bindigogi suna an fara harbe. So dia su uku ne a daki. Sai dia ya tashi ya hawo shagun. Ya ji ya hade ta kasa ya bude ta gate escape door ya fita. Dia kuma ya bi shi ya fita. Wannan kuma da ya tashi da jinjiri barcin. Zai nane zai bi. Ya fito karafta su. So suka kama shi. Musu harbe shi ba sai suka yanka shi. Sun yanka shi.
Boko Haram. Last week, the Islamist extremists have been terrorizing villages in Gwoza, Muda. There are reports of hundreds dead.
That Christians got involved in politics.
Christians should go into politics. They should go and register, be members of political party, be card-carrying member of political party, seek for elective office, and don't forget, if you are going there, be determined to make a difference.
It is unfortunate today that far too many believers are expecting the solutions to our problems to land on Air Force One. And until the immune system of God, the church, is brought back up, the bacteria and viruses of destruction will continue to destabilize our country, ebb away our freedoms, and take away our liberty.
When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn.
Viewers, you're welcome back. And before we went on that short break, we've been looking at the decision of 27 states forcing the federal government that school should be reopened. And the educationist in our midst is already saying that it was a good decision that the schools should be reopened. Now, let me come to the political analyst. Luckily enough, I have Obinas in the house today. I just discovered that now. Now, in that same report of Nation newspaper, doctors cautioned that the government should not open school because there is a great danger in reopening of schools. Now, sir, what do you think is the decision? Is what the doctors said? Is it correct?
Definitely. I'll start by 27 states forcing federal government to reopen schools. In the first place, it doesn't work in Nigeria. Nigeria is a federal system of government where states are autonomous. In terms of closing schools, it was an advice from the federal government. States are free to run their schools.
Okay.
No, federal government cannot tell states to run school or not to run school. They advise them to close down because of the pandemic. And states have seen the need to close down. That's why they closed the schools. Now, opening of schools is a different case for every state. Any state that feel that they want to open school can open school. Federal government can only close the federal government schools, federal government universities, federal government unitary schools, federal government schools in FCT. Apart from that, they cannot close any other school in the country. Every other school is under the states. So telling us that 27 states force federal government to reopen schools, I don't think is an issue, because it is a sole responsibility of the states to either close down their schools to open schools. And I want us to know one thing in this country. Unifying everything in Nigeria is our problem. That's why election is done in one day. The presidential election, the whole states, governorship election, local government election, all of them, they are all compounded in one day, and they will run the election. It's not like that. That's why when there's some staggered elections in Nigeria, people were seeing it as it was new. People were seeing it as something that is wrong. It's right. Every state should have their election on a different day. The only election we need to do one day is a presidential election. Others can come any other time. Likewise, in school opening and resumption, the schools can open anytime in any state. Their WAEC can be taken differently in Nigeria. Lagos State can decide to take their WAEC in February. Abia State can decide to take their WAEC in December. Whenever they feel that they have gotten to the level to do that, they will do it. So to me, it's not an issue. Federal government can close their schools. States can open or close their school. Okay, let me give you an instance. Anambra State have shifted their resumption to February. Likewise, those states have shifted. Will federal government go and tell them you must start school? No. So to me, the advice the medical experts is giving that school should not be open is good. It's real. It's real. It's glaring, because we are nowhere. We are nowhere. When you are talking about this thing, we cannot contain it. We don't have anything to contain it if it breaks out extraordinarily. We don't have anything to contain it. So to me, I think the states that are even pressuring federal government to open school should look back and know that when it's happening in the states. The issue we're talking about is federal government at the federal level, states at the state level. Most of these schools we are talking about in some states, they don't have classrooms, so they study under the trees. Most of the schools, they don't have any facility. Most of the schools, there's no toilets in the schools. When you go down to states, they don't have toilet facilities. Most of them, there is no water that is close to that school. Some schools, water that is close to the schools is about 10 kilometers.
There is no running water.
No, we are not even talking about running water. We are talking about stream water, because there is no running water. We are talking about stream water. The closest you can get in most states to schools is about 10 kilometers. You understand? So how would the states that are pressuring federal government to open school, how would they run their states? Are they going to open schools for students to go in there and die? Are they going to open schools to spike the pandemic? So these are the things. We have to be real when we are doing things in Nigeria. It's not just because it's going to profit somebody, because COVID-19 is profiting a lot of people that are in different places. When it is not, for example, if the schools are not opened and there's no spike, many people, those people that are gaining will not gain. So people are advising. Most people that are in a better position to advise positively are advising negatively because of the gain they are going to get when the schools open, when the businesses are on. They are going to get a lot of things because there will be appropriations. for different things that is not supposed to be done in the first place. The money that's supposed to be channeled for infrastructural development will now be used for emergency. So these are the things we need to look into in this country.
Yeah.
It's not proper.
All right, thank you so much. Now let me come to you. Whose duty is it to prevent the COVID-19 in schools?
Well, just like I said earlier, every school should have a functional sick bay. That is to say that in every school we should have a very good qualified nurse.
Okay.
Naturally, let's live about, for crying out loud, before the arrival of COVID-19, we have other sicknesses that have been ravaging the people. We have Lassa fever, we have AIDS, we have HIV, we have other infectious diseases. We have not even talked about the what they call it now, this other one, hepatitis B, that keeps even faster than the COVID itself. I get what I'm saying now. So these things, these illnesses are there, these sicknesses or diseases are there. So let's not just because COVID is what is on the air now, we will also be looking at COVID. We are not even talking about other aspects of the sickness. So it's the responsibility, one, the authority of that school. Because if the authority is also docile in attitude or not being very, very responsive in those attitudes, of course, what will the nurse, if the nurse is managed, if they have managed to even employ a nurse, or if they manage to even have a sick bay, it will not be functional. So it's the duty of the authorities of that particular school concerned, number one. Then number two, in the active field, of course, you will not bring somebody who is an accountant to come and manage a sick person. A nurse is supposed to be on standby. Every school is supposed to have a standby sick bay, a standby ambulance. Go to the developed world. Our so-called emergency numbers, are they really functional?
So there we go again. Now, Mr. Oduche, just in December, Mr. President signed the appropriation bill into law. Now, talking about the budget for education and health sector for 2021, considering what transpired in education and health sector in 2020 with the pandemic, do you think that the budget is enough?
It's never real in Nigeria. Our budgeting system is not real. When you go to any country that is developing, that wants to develop, the budget mostly centers on education and health. But in Nigeria, the budget centers on governance, the cost of governance. That is where our budget centers on. So when you look at what is appropriated to education and to health sector itself, it's nothing to write home about. It will take us nowhere. Even that budget is never released 100%. When you look at the budget, at the end of the year, you'll find out the budget is released 40 or 50 or 35 or 55%. With that, we are going nowhere. So that's why I am advocating that government should first of all take care of the situation first before they liberate our children into the system, so that we have less problem to solve, less problem to cater for. You understand? So because the budget is nothing. The budget is nothing to write home about. So what else are we talking about? If we want to get it right, let's curtail the cost of our governance. That's why I said the structure of Nigeria is our problem. The cost of governing Nigeria is causing Nigeria to continue to go down. If we cannot reduce the cost of overhead expenses in governance in Nigeria, I don't think we will get it right from now till the end of the world. Because any country that is doing it or carrying out governance the way Nigeria is doing, they have never developed. We should go and ask Singapore what they did. We should go and ask Malaysia what they did. We should go and ask China what they did.
All right.
We should go and ask Dubai what they did. These countries I'm mentioning, before now, Nigeria was better than them. But today, where are we?
No, they have left us behind.
They have left us behind.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Oduche. Now, let me come to you, Mr. Kingsley. Should Nigeria venture into electronic learning, considering the fact that there is COVID? COVID is real, and personally, I wouldn't want children to continue to go because they will go mingled with so many other children, and you don't know where all these other children are coming from. And it is natural for children to play together, you know, and all of that. You can't say don't play. You can't say don't touch this one. But once they are at home, you will be able to control some things. Do you think electronic learning is the best at this point in time? You are an educationist.
Well, during my period, but before I answer that question, I want to just give you a very simple analogy or scenario that happened in my house.
Okay.
My daughter came and met me and said, Daddy, I'm really missing my friends. Wow. I was shocked. I said, really? Despite everything in the house? You say, yes, I'm missing my friends. When is the school going to be reopened? I'm talking about my daughter that is about 8 years, my first daughter. So, now, before now, in the system, I think somehow, if you look at the National Open University, that system is almost 70%, 60 to 70% almost online. It's online program. So I think they have started throwing that line. Now, coming down to the secondary education, of course, some schools have started. But to tell you honestly speaking, if I really want to be honest and sincere to myself and to my government, the public schools are nowhere to be found. I was privileged to have an interaction with a public school teacher. I will not mention the name for security purpose. Honestly speaking, it may amaze you that I asked a very simple question that you may ask the children of nowadays: how to boot the computer system. Someone that is taking primary 6 don't know what booting of a computer system is. At this 21st generation.
Do you mean it?
I'm speaking factually. I'm not saying it to cajole anybody. Just like what my brother said, we have to be very, very honest to ourselves in this country. That is what have kept us where we are.
So that will prevent
of course.
Electronic learning.
Yes. Go to, in fact, I'm giving you as an assignment, if you can take that survey by yourself, go to some public schools as I speak to you now in FCT here now. Of course, maybe your own stories will be better than mine, to be very honest with you. So I will tell you that in all sincerely speaking, that we are not ready. But it is a very good advice, because we can't say that COVID is here and we will not face the realities of life. We have to. So we have to start, even though it's bit by bit, according to the common saying that the journey of a million miles starts with a step. If this is something that will begin to reset our way of thinking, our thinking faculty, that would be nice.
Somebody say it doesn't start with STEM, it starts with transport money.
Are you getting me? So now, let's even talk about the cost of data. I run a program on WhatsApp, visual teaching on WhatsApp.
Okay.
To be very honest with you, it's cost expensive. And you know that our data in Nigeria, we've not gotten there. Abroad, it is a right for you to even use the general internet system. It's a right. You don't even pay a dime. That's why I said some of our leaders that travel abroad, don't they have eyes? Don't they have these feelings? What is wrong for them to bring this thing here? That is why I say, God, this is a blessing. This COVID is a blessing in disguise. If really that we will come back to our senses and begin to do things right, just like what my brother said. We will not even talk about the rural areas. We are even centered about the city centers now. The rural areas. Don't be surprised that you go to a particular rural area and the child, you see a child, even a handset, not even talking about the advancement of a laptop, and the child will begin to look at it as a screen. Sorry to say that I was watching the social media, the Facebook. There was one man that was giving some kind of support from Bill Gates, because this man drew a computer. These children were looking at it like this. This man have to bring the computer itself. That is the rural area.
All right, thank you so much. Meaning that it will be good for education system in Nigeria to venture into electronic learning, but we are not ready. There is no power. A lot of places are rural. People don't even have this gadget with them and all of that. Now, As we continue with that, Mr. Obinna, do you think that is the reason why Nigerians perform better abroad than here? A lot of them will go abroad, will go into university system there, and they come out best on top of their classes, but not here. What do you think is the problem?
The simple thing is that God blessed this country a lot with a lot of human capital resources. We've got people in this country that have got good understanding, but the problem is that our learning environment is stringent.
Okay.
You can see somebody that studied computer engineering without seeing computer throughout his stay in the university. He was just reading.
How possible?
It's possible. It's happening in Nigeria. Get somebody that studied computer engineering and ask that person to open a system and repair. He can't. When he come out, if he want to repair a system, he will go and learn it by the roadside before he will be able to do that. Likewise, in many courses we are reading in Nigeria, I know that I did something of that nature to some extent, and I did not see what I was reading. I was reading it on paper. So that's what we have, the problem we have in Nigeria. Do you believe that somebody will do mechanical engineering, and when he comes out, he cannot repair a vehicle? But it's happening in Nigeria. Somebody that does mechanical engineering cannot repair a vehicle. He cannot do a good mechanics. Somebody that did electrical engineering cannot wire a house. It's simple. That is what is happening in Nigeria.
I agree with you, sir.
Our educational system
is quite a pity.
Is very backward. It's very backward. When you travel abroad and you want to read about computer, everything that will be centered on you will be computer. Computer. And by the time you finish, you will be better than computer. You, as a person that learn about computer, will be better than a computer itself. That's why when you travel outside this country, the best surgeons in the world are Nigerians. The people that invent most of these computers we are seeing are Nigerians. The people that built the best cars we are driving today are Nigerians, because they've gotten a good environment for them to explore. Now in Nigeria, there are people that are inventing things from their backyard. There are people God gave wisdom and inspiration to invent things at their backyard. What happened to those inventions? Do you remember that the first man that built a car in Africa is dead now? Dr. Zog. He built the first car in Africa. He's dead. And that project died with him.
Yeah, Dr. Ezekiel.
Dr. Zog. Yes. That project died with him. That car, after producing that car, that first car that was driven by ICOMO, that was during Abacha administration. The person that drove that vehicle for the first time was ICOMO. He drove the car, and it was tested, and it was certified roadworthy. No other car was produced after that one.
All right.
That invention died.
Now, enough of lamentation. What should the government do to put this right?
There is a simple thing. Make our educational environment friendly. Provide necessary facilities for education. If you want me to learn about camera, let me have access to it. Get the experts that have known about camera to train me. For example, in some schools now, they don't have teachers. Youth corpers are the ones teaching them. A corper did not do education. He doesn't know how to teach. That I'm a graduate of physics does not make me a physics teacher. Because I did not do physics education. That I'm a graduate of mathematics does not make me a mathematics teacher. I did not did a mathematics education. So these are the way to start. We should get the right teachers to teach us, and also get the right equipment, and also get good environment.
And good budgetary allocation.
These are the things.
All right, thank you so much. Now, Mr. Kingsley, what is your advice to students and parents at this point in time?
Well, students, I want to encourage you to, first of all, accept the new way of life. I know that a lot of things, being in a school environment, some things we enjoy with our foes are no longer there. So please adhere to the protocols. for parents, I think it's also time for you to also look inward. One good thing that this thing has also helped is it has drawn some parents very close to their family. So you also have to take responsibility of your family and know what to do, get the necessary things. I think it's also time for the parents to place priorities on things that are very, very necessary, and know that yes, we are in the real realities of life now. So we will have to face it. Then for the pupils and even the younger generations, we also have to find a way to protect them, especially the new babies we are carrying. You know, we have been talking about the other one aspect. We have not even talked about the new babies.
Yeah.
We also have to find a way to protect them. And just like my brother said, he has said it all. In addition to what he has said, it is hard time we'll begin to specialize on some certain things, not bringing somebody who studied geography to come and teach physics. Then government should up their game in supervision.
All right, government should up their game in supervision. Any advice for school owners as we round up? Just few words.
My advice for school runners or owners or proprietors is that they should try as much as they can to adhere to the COVID-19 protocols.
All right.
Because we have just one life. When we lose it, we don't have any other one.
All right. We have just one life. When we lose it, we don't have another one. I want to thank Mr. Kingsley Obinna Enya for coming, an educationist and a business consultant.
Thank you
so much
for having me.
And Mr. Obinna Oduche, thank you so much.
Thank you
political
very much.
analyst in our midst.
Thank you.
It was quite wonderful having you. Thank you so much. So we want to say at this point in time that as the school resumes, all the school owners and the government schools ensure that proper COVID-19 protocols are put in place so that when our children go and our teachers, they will be safe. Because if we allow it, if we don't handle it very well, then there is going to be a problem. We have just one life to live. This is where we call it a day until we come your way again, same time, same station, next week. I am Smart Simon.
The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the guests and viewers and does not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the Advent Cable Network Nigeria, ACNNTV.